Okay, in this topic, we're going to learn about probability. We're going to learn about probability. And we're going to work out the probabilities of events. So we're going to work out the probabilities of events with two or more equally likely outcomes. We're also going to learn about place events on a probability scale. So we're going to learn about place events on a probability scale. And we're going to learn about starting to understand that the results of an experiment can give different probabilities to those calculated. So, probability in words. Probability is a measure of how likely it is for something to happen. So, what is the likeliness of something happening? What is the likeliness of something happening? And it's a measure of something happening. So if it is very unlikely that it will snow in July, so it's very unlikely that it will snow in July in England. But the probability of getting a 6 on a dice is 1/6 because there are 6 outcomes, and one of the possibilities is 1, so it's 1/6, so it's 1/6, because the number 6 appears on one of the faces, and because the number 6 appears on one of the faces. However, if you roll a dice 6 times, it does not necessarily follow that you will get 1/6. It doesn't mean that you're going to get 1/6. It's just the likeliness. It's just a measure of the likeliness. It doesn't say that you're definitely going to get a 6. You may not get a 6. You may get it a couple of times. It might be 2 out of 6, or it might even be 3 out of 6 times. But most likely, on average, it's likely that it's going to happen 1 out of 6 times because there are 6 outcomes, and one of the possibilities is a 6 on one of the faces, so it's 1/6. For many everyday events, there are usually more than one outcome. So usually there are more than one outcomes. In the same way the dice had 6 outcomes, there are many outcomes. Like, for example, if there's a football team, and they might either win, they might either draw, or they might even lose their next match. So they might win, they might draw, or they might lose the next match. Now, it's equally likely that if you toss a coin, it might have a heads, or it might have a tails. It might have a heads, or it might have a tails. You have so you can have a heads and a tail. So you could have a 50-50 chance of getting either a head, and therefore we use the word equally. First we worked on likely, then we worked on very unlikely, and then we talked about the word outcome. So and then we talked about the word equally likely. So let's say, for example, you have 4 white counters in a bag. So you have 4 white counters in a bag, and you have some black counters. So you have some black counters. So you have black counters. How many black counters would you need to put in the bag? So if you've got 4 white counters in a bag and you also have some black counters, how many black counters would you need to put in the bag? So for example, if there are an even chance of picking a black, if there is an even chance of picking a black or a white, then we have to add 4 more. We have to add 4 more because there are 4 white counters. There are 4 white counters. Therefore, we need 4 black counters to make it even. So there's an even chance. So we come across a new word, chance, even chance. To make it more likely to pick out a black counter, all we would do is we would add more. So we could do it in different ways. So to make it more likely to pick out a black counter than a white counter, the answer is 5 or more. So we could add more black counters. We could add 5 or more black counters to make the probability, the chance of getting a black counter. So we've talked about probability in words. Now we're going to talk about using numbers. So we're going to talk about using numbers, and all probabilities lie between 0 and impossible, and 1. So either it's 0 or 1. It's either 0 or 1. So 0 is impossible and 1 is certain. 0 is impossible and 1 is certain. So probabilities are usually written as fractions. They're written in fractions. Probabilities are written in fractions. So let's say if you've got a scale and you draw a line. So let's draw a line, and you've got 0 and you've got 1. So let's say you have 0 and 1. In the middle, it's going to be half or a 50-50 chance. And basically, if you've got, say, a dice, 1/6 would on the scale would be, so you would write 1/6. Rolling on a dice would be 1/6. And 3/4 on landing on an odd number on this spinner. So landing on the odd number in this spinner, so it would be 3/4. It would be 3/4. And so that's what you do. So 0, half, and 1. 0, half, and 1. So what if you've got a so because with the spinner there are 4 outcomes, and landing on the odd number on this spinner would be, because there is 1, 2, 3 odd numbers, 3, 7, and 5, 3, 7, and 5, 3, 7, and 5, and fourth number is an even number. The odd number, there's 3 in 4 chances of it being an odd number. And in this case, with a rolling dice, because there are 6, the chance of a 6 appearing is 1 in 6, 1 in 6. So and that's where it's written on the scale. It's written here, along here, because there's 1 in 6 chances. 2 in 6 would appear here, 3 in 6 would appear halfway, and so on and so on. So that's probability explained.